Truthfully, my piece of advice, and it's not anything groundbreaking by any means, would be not to wait. There's always someone saying, oh, rates are going to come down. Oh, this is going to happen. I say there's never going to be one right, perfect time to get in the market and start investing, whether that's buying an investment property or taking that leap from renting to owning. I say when the time's right for you, make a jump.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. In today's episodes, we're spotlighting a second-generation realtor with a deep local roots and an unstoppable work ethic. She brings the kind of energy and professionalism this industry needs more of. She grew up in St. Johns County, Florida, a background in business and equestrian sports, and a sharp eye for detail. She delivers elite service under the Berkshire Hathaway brand. Let's welcome Emma Horvatincic.
Close. Horvatincic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
All right, I know.
me.
I should have said it 10 times before.
You're good. That was better than most. So it's a great conversation starter. I'll give it that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really appreciate you coming down here. Yeah. You came up on my, I'm always searching for, who's doing what. And I always like to find that agent who's out there dominating the social media and so forth, but someone who's kind of below the radar. But in your case, as young as you are, you're an up-and-coming star, really. I mean, you've really done well this past year.
Yeah.
You've had your license now, if I saw correctly, about 4 years?
Yes, so I've had my license about 4 years. I actually got it, if I remember correctly, my junior year of college, kind of transitioning into senior, and held on to it so that once I finished getting my bachelor's, I could transition straight into real estate. So actually practicing 2 years. This 2025 marks my second year as a full-time agent, 2024 being my first, and I just don't picture myself doing anything else.
Now
It's all I do.
You're second generation. Mom, dad, what?
Yes, so my mom is also a realtor, Berkshire Hathaway. We're actually out of the same office, St. John's, and I love it. I love the support, I love the feel of the brokerage, and I'm very happy there.
Great. No, we'll definitely dig into that. Now, when you were at UNF, did you take some real estate classes? Because I know they have that as a major over there.
Yes, so I did. My major was actually business management just because I wanted something versatile in case, it didn't work out. Thankfully, it has been. But business management, minor in entrepreneurship. So I did take 2 real estate classes, but they were very, very broad, I'd say.
Right.
The classes that helped me the most were, definitely the accounting, the professional communications, all of that kind of gave me a formalized background that I bring with me, to serve my clients.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think many people underestimate's not really the word, but you are your own business.
Oh, 100%.
You're 1099, you're self-employed. Yeah. So, having some whatever business classes actually teach you. I was an education major, so I don't know what, besides a couple small business law, I think I took in something else, but you have to have an entrepreneurial business mindset.
Oh, for sure.
Did you know that going in? Did your mom kind of help you in guiding you and knowing that you're self-employed?
Yes, absolutely. And, that mindset, I don't necessarily, believe that a formalized education can give you that mindset. I think it comes a lot from who you are as a person. And going back the generations, my grandfather, a very successful entrepreneur developer. My father, a very established siding company, owns his own business. And then my mom being a realtor as well. It's just kind of what I was surrounded with. So it felt very natural to, be at the head of my own business as well.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you there. It is something you are you kind of grow in, and some people take it to another level. We know from an entrepreneur, but it's something that you have to kind of see whether it is a direct relative, or in the old school days. I can't remember how old I was when I first started mowing lawns. That's what I did.
You want to do it.
Yeah. And get out there and earn it. I don't want to say earn it yourself. That's not really the correct way to say that. I'm lost train of words in here to say.
That's
All right. But St. Johns County, what high school did you go to?
So I actually went to Stanton College.
Oh, that's right. I saw that on LinkedIn.
I drove all the way up to Stanton. I love Stanton, all AP, so it did give me a little bit of a head start, and college felt like a breeze. And then graduated 2020 COVID time, so UNF felt like the right transition, stay local, and the fact that I was able to do majority online at the time let me progress a little quicker, and then graduated in summer 23, I believe.
You're going to Stanton, you're taking the higher level classes and so forth as the prep school. Did you at that time when you decided to go there have a higher goal of say I want to go to Harvard or Yale or something like that? Did you? Because I imagine a lot of the kids that go have that initial mindset.
For sure. Yeah. So personally, not really. I kind of wanted to do what was necessary, and that was always going to be a business degree for me, but it was just really always going to be real estate, and I knew I didn't, have to go to Harvard or Yale to accomplish that.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's amazing. That's a huge accomplishment. Anyone who goes to Harvard and Yale, hats off.
Well, I think there's better colleges, but that's my opinion.
Okay. Well, yeah, I knew it wasn't necessarily required for real estate.
Right.
So it was just get me to there.
So real estate was already, even while you were a teenager, watching mom was actually...
Oh, for sure.
The goal. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. All right. Your mom's been at Berkshire Hathaway for years now. Is that?
Not actually years. She started slightly before me, believe it or not. Just coincidental timing, but longer than I've been there.
Right.
Yes.
The brokerage itself, you've been out there, you've seen, I imagine there's probably a lot of friends that you have, other young people asking you about real estate. Should they get into real estate?
Yeah.
How important have you noticed, in looking, I imagine you've had other agents on the other end of the deals. You're like, what brokerage are you working for? Because that is your story. But what Berkshire Hathaway has done from you, from just seeing what your mom's doing to actually being your business now, you earning your own paycheck, how have they helped you in being that starting spot and getting launched in the business?
Okay, so there's so much.
Yeah, that's
a lot. But I mean, from the get-go, the support is incredible. I mean, just incredible. Our brokers are there, president of the company. If I have a question or a sticky situation, she's a phone call away. But from the start, we go through about a week-long program, and it's like a full 8 to 5. You sit there, you learn as much as you can, and then basically you just have to jump right in, truthfully. And I think that goes for any brokerage, but what I think would set Berkshire apart is that the support is ongoing, it's consistent. We have tons of trainings weekly, meetings, and then just our office culture is so inclusive and positive. It doesn't feel like there's any real competition. I mean, we're very, very big on collaboration. So, I have great agents who've been in the business 50 plus years, and if I can just call them and say, hey, they're personable enough, and I think that's a reflection of the company, that I feel like I can go to them if I have a question, which I love.
It's interesting. If you, knowing what you know now, you've been active here for a couple of years, knowing what you know now, and you see these other brokerages like Real or EXP and so I call them the virtual cloud brokerages,
yes.
Let alone not just cloud brokerages, but there's other brokers out there to realize what you landed in, because I imagine you do run into agents, because agents tell me all the time,
For sure.
they run into other agents who aren't very extremely active, or they're just very new. They don't have a lot of transactions under their belt yet, and they don't know how to write the contract correctly and that sort of thing. The importance of going to a brokerage where you have that support. In this case, you were kind of bragging about the office culture a little bit.
Oh, I love.
Where some people are like, "Oh, I don't want to have to go to the office." Well, you don't have to go to the office, but you go to the office to get some energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I truthfully am there pretty much every day, even if I'm the only one there. I don't care. It puts me in a mindset, and it puts me in a setting to want to be productive. And once you start that habit, I mean, granted, I do think it's an agent by agent basis. I think those cloud brokerages, they definitely serve a purpose, but for me personally, and that's why I think it's so individualized, is I know I benefit from being somewhere physically where I can just be productive. But yes, foundation is everything. Foundation is absolutely everything. And I think if you're newer in the business, it would be doing yourself a disservice to not go somewhere where, maybe, I don't know how I want to word this.
Well, you're getting
it would be doing yourself a disservice to not go somewhere where you're going to get more support off the bat.
Right.
And then maybe once you're established, do your thing after that. What feels right?
Knowing what you know, and you're right there, you're living it being 23 years old. The importance, like I said, imagine your girlfriends are asking about real estate, to structure your day as if you are actually on the clock.
Oh, absolutely.
This type of things. Tell us a little bit at what's your standard structure each day that you like to do. If you don't have something at, go to meet somebody to do a listing appointment at 8:00 in the morning over coffee or something. But what is your day like? What's your kind of your typical day?
So, again, it starts with getting up, getting dressed, putting myself in that mindset, and then kind of the opportunities in the day I feel like finds me in a way if I'm ready. And I go to the office and I'm sitting down. Usually I start my morning knocking off some tasks. Do I have to done this? Am I negotiating repairs here? Like, get the little things out of the way, send documents out that have to go out. If I've got, contracts.
Well, do you kind of set your mindset though? Like you said, the first thing you said was get up and get dressed. Everyone's like, of course you do. Yeah. But you're setting your alarm for a certain time,
sure.
And or you try to be in the office by a certain time.
Yeah, I'd say usually like a 9 is good. That flexes though, depending on if I've got showings or appointments or whatnot. But get up, get in the office in the morning, get the little managerial tasks out of the way, and then get to work on finding the next opportunity. Truthfully, if you're not looking for your next opportunity now, you need to know a few months out you're going to feel that.
Right.
So it's constant. It's a cycle. You have to always be going and looking.
I'm going to drill down on that a little bit. Your mom wasn't in the business that much longer, so it's not like she has a decade of experience and could just say, hey, this is what you need to do. It sounds like the two of you are kind of almost working at the same level almost from the standpoint of getting some mentorship or, like you said, there's people who've been doing the business for decades in the office that you do them. Where did you go to help structure your day, to structure what you're doing for marketing right now? Is there someone you're mirroring or mentoring, listening to?
I wish I could pinpoint that, but truthfully, I just kind of got in my own groove and found what worked for me personally. Our office does have certain trainings and we have like our weekly business meeting, but that's just one day a week. So it was really just about me being self-motivated and getting up and going and just working, I guess.
Right.
Like finding a routine for me and how I reach people and then just doubling down on it.
Well, how important was it to find the thing, and it's under marketing, the marketing the way you like to do it? Like obviously, there's some people actually like knocking on doors. There's like someone like Ricky Carruth who just loves to get on the phone and just talk to people. So he just calls, random people. Yeah. What is it that you're doing that you seems to be getting some results for you, at least right now in today's market? But how did you get to that? How did you find that?
So for me, I feel like it's just about finding people that need help that I can serve, whether that be a buyer, whether that be a seller. I did start out early in my career going after expired listings, offering a fresh approach to those sellers, and it's worked out. I have been able to, sell some listings that previously expired with other agents, but I think the bigger answer to that question is heavily leaning into my niche, which would be my equestrian background and just getting my name out there, creating relationships with people who own those types of properties, and offering help in any way I can if they want to sell in the future, if they're looking for land. And now it's kind of starting to flow, which I'm happy about. But it started from me taking that first step in that initiative and introducing myself and going from there. Well,
you talked a little bit about your warm circle there. How did you approach them? I think a lot of people, they're doing the business, you're 23 years old, you're not 43 and had a previous corporate career where you could say, hey, I was successful here, I'm going to be able to do this.
Right.
You're the newbie, or the green pea is what they used to call me when I first got out of college. I sold cars. There was an older dude. He used to call me green pea, right? Because you're green, right? You haven't sold anything yet. Yeah. How did you approach, how did you approach your equestrian associates and say, hey, I'm in real estate. I know, without actually saying it, they know you're 22 years old, 21 years old, and that I can actually handle this for you.
Yeah. So, super tedious because I'm extremely detail oriented. I would actually send out extremely personalized, individualized packets of information. Here's a little bit about me. Here's a little bit about your property from what I found. Just doing my research.
Email or an actual letter? Or
mail.
Actual mail.
Old-fashioned mail. Yeah, old-fashioned mail. And just being persistent in my follow-up. If I don't get a reply, that's okay. But I think I would send those out with the intent of just having a conversation. And most times it'd be received very warmly, like, oh, thank you so much. We'll keep you in mind. Or, oh, wow, I really appreciated what you put together. And that's kind of just the first step. And it's been received positively. So physically sitting down, drafting the material, handwriting a note, sending it out, that's been my first introduction to a lot of people. It takes a lot of digging, but it's been worth it. I mean, when you're new, you have all the time on your hands. Right. So, yeah.
Well, where did you come up with that plan? Did someone give you that idea? Did you listen to someone or someone in the office? Where did you kind of of course, you might have took a couple different things and put it together to what you did, mail it out where other people might have emailed it or whatever you thought was the right thing to do. Where did you come up with that plan? And then, because I think people have to understand, and you understood here, you have to be consistent in this, and you have to stick with it for a period of time so you can measure whether or not it's working. You can't just do it for a week and then expect the next Monday morning the phone to start ringing.
Oh, no.
You have to do it consistently, and all of a sudden, the fish started biting.
Yeah. Yeah. So the plan, I guess, came from me kind of thinking, what would I like to receive? Especially considering that I'm, younger and newer. But I'm just I like a physical copy of something to look through, and I think that stays with people longer if they get something tangible than just, we live in such a digitalized world, and I guess I'm more old-fashioned in that approach, but I like good old bound paper, and I think it gives people something physical to look through. And so that's kind of why I took that approach first. And then, of course, focusing on the more equestrian heavy areas. And, when you're in that world, you kind of know where farms are. So going,
So where did you, all right, so you specifically targeted these equestrian,
farming,
or just
certain farms.
Because a lot of the people you're doing your equestrian, they all lived on places that typically might be able to have a horse or whatever, right? Yeah. So how did you analyze and break it down to what information they would know? How did you know what to put in those letters?
So, if you come from the world, it's very, very specific, and I'll give you an example. There was this one listing that had expired, and I noticed it was a very cute little 2.5 acre kind of hobby farm, which, isn't set up to have multiple horses or a business, but, someone just owned their personal animals, maybe a few chickens, that kind of thing. And I noticed in the listing description, the prior agent who had it had called what would normally be a tack room, where you store your saddles, your bridles, your girths, that sort of thing. Right. She called it a dressage room. And it's funny, if
how do you say that again?
Dressage room. A dressage. So dressage is actually a discipline. When the horses look like they're dancing on the Olympic stage, they're not jumping anything. They're doing lots of fancy steps. The prancing, yep. When they're prancing and they look really nice. So that's dressage. And if you reading that, I was kind of like, oh, a room can't be a dressage room. That makes zero sense. So I kind of reached out and I said, hey, well, actually, this particular listing, it's not far from me, so I just went and introduced myself and had a very good, positive conversation with that seller, established a relationship, and let myself know if she needs anything in the future. What they were looking for isn't on the market, hasn't been on the market for quite some time, but we just keep the lines of communication open. So I think a lot of it has stemmed from looking at past listings and kind of sharing, hey, I'm someone who knows and can communicate the value of this specific type of property, and you need that on your side. So
interesting. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is high level stuff, because I'm going to tell you that 99, that's why you're having a 1% year, because 99% of the agents wouldn't be able to pick up on this. And the fact that you've gone after this at a young age instead of just finding the generic listings in St. Johns County and selling new builds, right? You've had several $1 million sales this year plus.
Yes.
There, which pumped those numbers up. So it's not like you did 40 transactions. Because you're doing what a lot of agents like to do. They like to do less, but do higher value luxury. What would be considered luxury home by price point, right?
Yeah. So I'm very grateful to be in this market and serving those clients, and for those clients to see the value I bring to the table. I truthfully, I work at any price point, but it has flown in that particular direction, and that I don't want to downplay that. It is a direct result of the work I put in, but I still am very humbled every time something like that comes my way, or a higher ticket listing comes my way. And I always have the mindset that I'm always interviewing for the next, opportunity. It's never assumed. That, I walk into this home and I'm on a listing appointment, and no, it's never assumed. I always act like I'm there showing what I can do, and I bring my track record with me now. Which
touch a little bit more on the because I think obviously you found a niche here, right? That you went and then you went after, because that's, there's not everyone's out there doing equestrian. You were brought up doing it, so you're comfortable in that zone.
Oh, for sure.
Someone else might be a soccer mom. Whatever it is, you go and master the soccer field out there, and all the parents standing around watching soccer, and you own it, or the little league field, or whatever it is. But there's a very unique market there.
For sure.
Obviously, I think that you've treaded. I'd say you treaded over the same turf, that you speak the language.
You have to.
It's kind of like, maybe there's someone's Hispanic, they want to deal with a Hispanic realtor. They're dealing with you. You've done it. That's their passion. It's your passion. You have a commonality there. So when you go out and what are just some surface level things that you break down when you're looking at one of these equestrian possible properties? Now, you've sold some. Are you getting some buyers that are actually looking for them too?
Yes. I've helped buyers as well. Yes, more so listing
that have gone to you because of your...
Sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I actually have a client coming in town January from Arizona that saw what I do with land specifically, and they want to have, a farm, and they're like, where should we look? And they want some serious acreage, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But, so surface level, I would say, biggest thing you need to communicate is the value that the land brings to the table. You can have 5 acres over here with a house, 5 acres over here with a house. This acreage might have a ton of conservation or wetlands, which, fun fact, doesn't always mean it's physically wet holding standing water, but you can't clear it, you can't touch it, and that greatly diminishes, the space that you can have for your horses. And then over here might be completely cleared, high and dry.
Well, what stops the horse from going on the land, that even though it's...
So you actually, a lot of owners don't necessarily want their horses roaming in the woods, because that's just accidents waiting to happen. you kind of need to bubble wrap them, especially if they're nice and they're your show animals and you're competing with them, and you want to keep them, they live outside, right? But you don't want them getting hurt. So, and then the acreage over here could be high and dry, usable. You can clear more if you want to, if there's trees. Buyers need to understand the importance of what that specific property offers in terms of what they want to do. But then going to when a property has established facilities, when we're talking about the barn, how many stalls does it have? Is it air conditioned? Is there a fly system fans that are going to keep the bugs away in our lovely, super nice Florida summers? Or would a buyer have to add that? When you have stalls, do they run out into their individual runouts? Meaning, can the horses kind of go in and out freely? Are you going to be turning them out? Where's the barn in relation to the pasture? How many pastures are there? Are there automatic water systems?
So each of these things adds different values.
For sure.
Yeah.
And convenience. A lot of, clients who own properties like this, they want a certain level of convenience established.
Well, I could just imagine Yeah, the convenience, and they're generally if you're in the horsing area, you generally have money, so you're not going. These are not first time home buyer type things. They kind of know what they want
and have experience.
I was just thinking. I imagine when you are looking out there for property, sometimes you do have 10, 15 acres with a manufactured home on it.
Yeah.
Some of them consider, we'll just get, we'll build a house, build a barn, because that's the ideal 15 acres. It's great.
So personally, I haven't had a buyer consider that. I find that most of my buyers would rather wait for that one to come up than with something that has a manufactured home on it, and
or just plain acreage,
and build themselves. Yeah,
right.
I do have a few that are looking at that right now, because granted, our area, our inventory with that is pretty limited. It's not every day you find an updated home on acreage with a nice barn. I think the biggest thing that our area doesn't see the most of is homes on acreage being larger and more updated. We do get larger homes on acreage, right? Because it kind of comes bigger house, more land, but definitely not as updated as I feel like buyers would want. And then there are those few that are, and those tend to go for a premium.
Where are these buyers coming from?
So let me think about that.
Are they just random areas, or?
I find that all over our area, and
so
they might just not have
generally
land right now.
Other Florida, they're in Florida already?
Yeah, in Florida already. They might
Except
not
the one
have
you said you
land.
got coming in from Arizona or whatever.
Oh, yes, yeah. They might not have land right now, but they could board or have been riding for years and want to finally have their horses with them instead of boarding. I see that a lot.
Right.
I did have the privilege of helping a buyer recently relocate from Utah who wanted to be here. That was nice. They bought 8 acres with me, 8.8 actually, acres with me, brand new home. The land was bare. Like, it was, ready for someone to come in and establish their vision. Beautiful custom home, and it was the right fit for them. They want a little space.
Have you had anyone who wanted to actually be in the business of boarding?
The business of boarding.
Looking for a property big enough that already had maybe that business already established.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, last year, I did help an established training, competing, breeding, boarding facility upgrade from 9 acres to 43.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that was a lot of fun, a lot of moving parts.
Just next door was selling and type of thing, or?
So I represented the sale of the 9 acres in their home, and they'd outgrown that parcel, and so they wanted more land, downsize the house. So it was one of those, more space for their horses, less home. So we found 43 beautiful acres, and they're still in the process, as you can imagine, big undertaking, but it's just incredible. Some of the hardest working people I know, and now they have all that space, and they're building the new facility on that upgraded acreage. To
board and make a business of doing that. Because I imagine there's good money in it, especially if you love horses and that's all you want to do all day.
Oh, yeah, that's their business. That's what they do.
Yeah, because people spend a lot nickels to store their RV. I can't imagine what they pay to store their horse.
You don't want to know. We're going to keep those numbers a secret.
But interesting that's a unique niche, and there's no doubt when I do the blog on this show, obviously, and then when I do my blog on LinkedIn for you as well, we're going to put that out there. So hopefully a customer finds it, because it's so unique that they're looking for an agent who specializes in this area. All right, I'm going to take 30 seconds to do a little read here, and then I'm going to go into some really great questions that we're going to talk about here for the second half of the show. So we'll be right back. First, a quick thank you to one of the sponsors of the Real Estate Excellence podcast, readtomato.com. If you're great at what you do, but your content keeps getting ignored online, listen up. Read Tomato built something called the Hot Take Engine. Once a month, you spend an hour on a call. They pull off your best stories, strongest opinions, kind of like a podcast, and the answers your buyers are already searching for. If they turn it into a full month publish-ready content that sounds like you, shows up on your Google and AI results, you don't need more posts, you need more signal. Go to Read Tomato, that's READ tomato.com, READ tomato.com. Great segue from that commercial there of Read Tomato. You're on a cutting edge of a change in marketing. We've had social media. I don't think a lot of agents know how to use it. for the most part. There's some that use it a lot. Mm-hmm. There's some that are spending a lot of money having videographers shoot their stuff and then put it on Instagram, which blows my mind because it's gone in 24 hours. Yeah. There's not now. Occasionally, I will get someone comment on an old reel from I don't know when. I don't know how they get it. Maybe somehow because I guess you can search on Instagram. Right. I've never used. Only time I used Instagram search was to search a person, not advice on something. So occasionally I'll get someone will comment on an old reel and I go, oh, geez, that reel popped up somehow. Yeah. But they're spending a lot of money on content, but then they're not even putting it into the content library, which to me is YouTube. YouTube is the content library that when you're searching, and AI is searching YouTube as well for these things. But Read Tomato, talking to them, blogging is back. And so now we're in this transition because now AI is coming in to the thing. So people are going on AI and having conversations and saying, hey, tell me I'm looking for a horse farm. I'm equestrian. I do horses, whatever. I need to find a real estate agent that specializes in that. There's not going to be many that are going to pop up that it's going to find. So someone who's blogging regularly on these types of subjects is going to be the person who's going to pop up in those AI searches. Right. And I think and this is my opinion, I'll get your opinion, I think agents have gotten away from having a really good website, which there was websites and then of course then social media came out, right? So it's now back to having a really good website with blogs because AI is now looking for that. AI ain't looking for Instagram. Yeah. It's looking for those who are grounded, who can go to a trusted site for trusted information. And that's where a website, a professional website, comes back, in my opinion. Are you guys talking about any of that in the things that you're reading in Berkshire or anything like that?
So I think right now, like you mentioned, social media content is very much so at the forefront, hooks and getting people in and on your page and hopefully learning more about you and what you bring to the table. But I do think that while that does serve its purpose, kind of like you mentioned, blogs and whatnot, substance, I feel like will never go out of style. And for me, if I was about to put the largest transaction maybe of my life in someone's hands to help guide me and support me through that, I would do a little more digging, and I hope that people do. No guarantee in this age, right? Based than just what I'm seeing on Facebook and Instagram. And I know me personally, I would go and research them and look for a website and look if I can find a history of their transactions, testimonials, what people are saying about them, which people can show on social media. But I do think, to your point, a website is maybe a little more tangible, or something that's carefully curated or crafted kind of reflects the level of service you bring. And I mean, granted, mine has room for improvements too, but I would hope that, I guess, buyers out there are looking just past what they're seeing on someone's profile. Yeah,
my opinion is if they spent the same amount of money they were spending for the videographer, on the professional site with professional, as we were just reading, the hot take engine is what Read Tomato calls their service, and putting those blogs, which in your case, equestrian, you want that niche, you're talking about it. If you're out at the beaches, you're writing blogs on a weekly basis. It does not actually take that much to write a blog, and they actually do it for you. You come on a podcast, like I could probably write 10 different blogs, 10 different ways about you after this hour-long conversation with you, because you can upload that transcript and AI will write it for you. You can go in there and touch it up a little bit, add a thing, and it'll tell you actually even how to structure it and what links and you should have to make it happen. But I really think that's where the marketing is going to go. And one of the key things that I've learned recently was your Google reviews when it comes to AI are huge. Now, there are other, Rate My Agent, I think is another one. So you definitely want to get those reviews, but then are you linking that back over to your website, right? You want them in both areas. You want the Google review on Google, but you also want the link over, or that review over there. It'll find it. Type of thing. So, and then how you kind of coach your customers how to write that review?
I don't.
No, you should. You should. Yeah. The little tip is you don't want to just say, oh, she was a great agent.
Right.
That's not going to get you anywhere.
You want them to be specific.
She helped us find 6-acre or 8.8 acre equestrian property. This is exactly where our horses are going to be. Would stream, don't throw those keywords in there that are in there for doing it. But I really think that is where you're going. Well, I think every agent should have some sort of niche. It could be a subdivision.
Oh, for sure.
And you want to have that. You want to have that subdivision. You want to write stuff about it once every couple of weeks. Put a new blog updating it. So AI is looking for the most hyper local and trusted source that they can get the information from, and recent. So if it's something from 3 years ago, that's going to be low on the totem pole as far as AI, unless there's nothing in between.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we have our trending questions here that we I briefed you a little bit. So tell the audience, she was a little shy, so I had to brief her a little bit so she put her mind in gear to answer these questions. These are questions that many listeners, people online are searching for right now. So we're going to turn these into reels, but they're great discussion questions as well. So number one, what do buyers need to know heading into the 2026 real estate market?
Truthfully, my piece of advice, and it's not anything groundbreaking by any means, would be not to wait. There's always someone saying, oh, rates are going to come down. Oh, this is going to happen. I say there's never going to be one perfect time to get in the market and start investing, whether that's buying an investment property or taking that leap from renting to owning. I say when the time's right for you, make a jump and get out there.
No, I agree with you. 100% because there was an article came out there, and I don't think it was Fannie Mae, but it was one of the trusted sources where people get their industry statistics or whatever. And it's like, hey, what do you predict interest rates to do over the next 5 years? Well, the 30-year fixed really correlates with that 10-year treasury. And basically it says, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, it basically told you what to expect that 10-year treasury was going to be. Let me tell you, it was the difference between 4.28 and like 4.1, okay? Basically saying it's not moving. So we are right where we were in October of 2008. I've said this before on the show, where the interest rates are right now. You're actually just a fraction slower than where they were in October, Halloween of 2008, before they started buying the mortgage-backed securities, and then you saw rates drop from there for the next 15 plus years. So you're right. The best time to buy a home was 2 years ago. So
always
get in the game.
Yep, get in the game. That would be my advice. Get in the game. And for my niche specifically, I think that is slightly different. I think it depends on when there's an opportunity out there that fits your needs and your lifestyle and what you are looking for in an equestrian property or land. It's kind of be ready for when that one pops up, because they're fewer and farther in between.
Yep.
Especially in our area.
I imagine in your market with that, if you like that property, you better grab it.
Yeah.
Because they're unique properties. Is 2026 expected to be better time to buy than 25?
I think how I want to answer that. That's such an open-ended question.
Well, I'll lead you to think about the answer. I'll tell you what my opinion is.
Yes.
Personally, right now, it's a buyer's market.
Correct.
For your standard home.
A little bit more. I would say the higher-end luxury still sellers are still in a pretty decent position. Properties are still holding their value, but overall, more of a buyer's market now. You can negotiate a little bit of price or have closing costs picked up. Get a credit for sure. Yeah, all that there. Absolutely. And I believe as we go into 26, people are going to see some of the things that the new administration has done tax-wise and so forth. They're going to feel better. The stock market's already high, so a lot of those people who like $1 million plus homes, a lot of times are actually looking at what the market's doing. And the market's doing well, so it's like, okay, and the manufacturing comes online, and there's a tremendous amount of investment. When some of these things start to turn the engines, there's going to be a different attitude. So then all of a sudden now you're going to have more buyers on the market. And so right now, transitioning into 26, if you're buying, now's the time to buy. I mean, I felt it this December. This December will be my out of my whole year. And strangely enough, this happened 2024 December. It's that kind of rush to get in, before the year ends. This December will be my second highest overall production month, whether you want to attribute a dollar amount to that or number of closed units that go hand in hand for me personally, yeah, if people are buying. People are out buying. And I have been able to get some deals. You know, I've got lovely first-time home buyers that are closing on their first investment this month. And then I have, you know, clients who are downsizing from over 5,000 square feet, moving to our area on an acre of land. It's beautiful. And they were still able to secure, you know, a lower price than what was offered, plus a new roof, which is nice.
Yeah.
Whole new roof. Yeah.
All right. Here's another question here. What's the current mindset of luxury home buyers in Northeast Florida?
They want to feel taken care of. They want someone who's available. You have to be extremely white glove, full service in your approach, almost anticipate what they need before they even know that they need it. And honestly, it goes back to the absolute minimum, I feel like, of any luxury agent is your communication. I communicate with anyone I'm helping buy, sell daily almost, whether that's a hello, good morning, I'll check in on this for you today, or hello, good morning, we're waiting on that report back. Or I even tell them, I go so far as to say, hey, I plan to follow up with so-and-so this afternoon, evening, because I heard that the appraiser was out of town the day before. Maybe it's a little much, but I have yet to have someone tell me that it's too much. I find that high-end buyers are appreciative of knowing, you know, that they're being completely taken care of. Someone's watching everything at all times.
Well, you said something there, almost
anticipating
what that you saw my eyes light up, probably.
Anticipating what
things
they
that they are not even asking for, but that's what they get for when they go into a luxury car dealership or something, and they go in for service. And they're spending that much more money, but then when they come out, there's a little chocolates on the seat and that kind of thing. Or, you know, they clean the car for them. You know, you go to the General Motors dealer and get service, they just give you your car back, right? And leave the card in the window and all that jazz. Where you go into Lexus or, you know, Porsche or something like that, it's a different experience. And that's what wows them and gets them all excited. They realize the expense is the expense. They're buying luxury. They understand it's not the money, it's the actual service that you're giving them. You're looking out for them, saying, hey, you know, I do know this is older kitchen. I had some estimates done or what, you know, some virtual visions of what this might do if you guys really wanted to renovate it or whatever. You know, you're doing that little extra concierge service.
And, you know, I think that
chocolates on the pillow.
Chocolates on the pillow, fold the towels, make a little swan. A few of my buyers recently have been from out of state. I had buyers from South Carolina, a new one from Arizona who's very in the loop about what's happening, and also my Utah clients. And then I have clients from down south in Florida, and all bought. So I have to be their boots on the ground through every step of the process. You know, I don't go to inspections for just the summary at the end. I want to be there the whole time. And that's my office. I'm working there. I let them know that, hey, I'll be there the whole way. And, you know, most sellers are fine with that, truthfully. Or I'm just there for anything they need. Anytime hey, can you go out and measure this? I'll go do it. Or, hey, can you meet so-and-so at the property? We want to get, you know, a design idea, a consult, like you kind of mentioned. I'm the one there needing those people on their behalf, especially if they aren't local. But even if they are, you know, this is my job. People have their jobs, their lives, their families. So it is my job to do those things. So I do them. I do them. Proactively.
Right.
Yes. I assume that role. That is where I assume that role.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you tip on something that many of the great agents that I've had on, and it's been a couple hundred of them, is try to do something the client's not expecting.
Yeah.
Wow them with something, and it could be your responsiveness. It could, you don't know what that's going to be in the process, but try to find that thing during the process that gives them that little wow, I didn't expect that. Wow, oh my God, that was great. Thanks for doing that, type of thing. What strategies actually worked for sellers in 25, and which ones failed?
Worked, not overpricing your home. Failed, overpricing your home. Or, you know,
that's a good answer.
Leaving that wiggle room, but then also failed, I'd say, having too much of an emotional attachment to your home. You know, this is a transaction. People are coming in to visualize themselves and their lives. But truthfully, let's go back to what's worked. I've had amazing sellers. I mean, honestly, I am so grateful to get to work with such awesome people, but they take suggestions. Hey, fix this up, neutralize this, let's declutter, let's stage. I mean, and then I'm also there for every step of the way. And, let's follow this timeline, because I think if we go live on X date, let's push to have things ready for this day, give us time to market before the weekend. And I think them, responding to maybe some guidance or suggestions is awesome. But truthfully, my sellers have been amazing and kind of have it together.
Well, I mean, have you had one really, you really had that serious talk, like, hey, you're $20,000-$30,000 higher than what's going to go. You're going to sit. No one's even going to come see. Because that's typically what I'm hearing from a lot of agents is they overprice. They don't even get a showing. So
the way I kind of like to approach that is I have had listings that maybe like to overpriced because they feel like, there is an emotional tie to your property, and we as agents have to respect that and take that into consideration with how we approach what's a delicate situation. And again, it goes back to that white glove. You need to hear them and be there for them. But I like to, on listing appointments, set a reasonable expectation. Okay, if we do it at XYZ number, and I'm kind of suggesting maybe this range based on the comps, what I'm seeing buyers are truly looking for, based on that specific home, is someone going to have to come in here and update the whole kitchen? If we don't have consistent showings or an offer by, let's say, the 2.5-3 week mark at most, we need to consider a reduction. And kind of setting reasonable expectations from the start kind of mitigates and gets ahead of, them maybe saying, oh, my home's sitting, why, when in reality the overpricing thing is in play. Right. And then let's reduce. And truthfully, reducing gets the job done. It does. If there's things about your home that you can't control or that don't make sense for ROI to change, what are you in control of as a seller? And that is price. That's what I'd say. Are luxury listings still moving, or is inventory selling? And I would say, I don't know, I'm going to say luxury for my question is north of $1 million. They're moving. They're selling. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because those, it goes back to my statement I made earlier. I'm selling them. Yeah. It goes back to my statement earlier. Yeah. Those people are looking at their investments in the marketplace. Yeah. Now I think you're sub $600,000-$700,000, they're looking at their W-2 job, and do they feel comfortable that they're going to keep it? That's what's, it's a different mentality of those sellers and buyers. And I think it comes down to they time their moves, because most of them may have the luxury of doing so with where they really want to be, what they're really looking at. Does this fit their family? Are they empty nesters? Do they want an upgrade? Location change? I think that's kind of how they prioritize their moves. But then also, yes, timing it right. Looking at what's out there, what's on the market, what's happening with similar listings of that caliber that may have been listed for a long time prior. Because luxury can take a little bit longer, and I think that's okay. Well, when you come to a certain price point, there's only a limited amount of people. Right. When you're lessening your pool, it does take that. It always takes that one. But when you're, making your pool a little smaller, it also comes down to, are the people in the pool really looking for this, and then positioning yourself accordingly. Have you been stuck with a property in a community that's already still in construction? Basically trying to sell an existing home in a new construction neighborhood? I personally have not, but I do know that when you're in that situation and you're still competing with the builder, you really, really need to lean into, this is ready here and now. Hopefully someone really needs to be in there here and now, but majority of the time, those builder incentives, so you gotta compete. The builders are sitting on spec homes too right now. I mean, obviously the incentives are giving the agents to come in. The incentives are giving the buyers. I don't know how they're making any money. Their margins are very thin right now. They just keep their crews busy with that. I have sold a few new construction this year, but 2 were 2025 custom built homes in established communities. Yeah. And so, again, total niche. There were only 3 2025 homes built in this particular community. I represented the sellers on one of them, brought the buyers on another. So, kind of having an understanding of, yes, the rest of the community is doing this, but this is brand new and kind of elevated.
I don't think enough agents, well, I'll say enough agents, that's probably right, but a lot of the agents that I've had on, obviously the top agents, they're explaining to their customers, if you're buying a new construction home in one of these tract builts over in Silverleaf or whatever, how long do you plan to be there? Because they're going to be building houses in this subdivision for the next 4 or 5 years or more. And I think what we're seeing is, and I see the agents pulling their hair out, is they're getting calls. Trailmark, for example, I guess has some 60 some listings in there. And, it's very difficult to move a house in there when they got the builders still building and giving all these incentives, the interest rates and all in there. And I believe, and I know sometimes obviously stuff happens, people get divorced, right? They don't plan on it, didn't plan on it anyway. Maybe they were thinking about it when they bought the house, but whatever. But they do, and they have to sell or whatever. But I think there's others where the agent could have done some due diligence up front and said, hey, you're in the Navy. How long do you see yourself here? 2 years? You do not want to buy that
investment. And that is what, buyers appreciate. I feel like someone being honest with them. And then even if they still go and make that decision, ultimately it's their decision.
Hopefully they call you to sell it, even though now you're going to be stuck with it. But because you were honest with them up front and you told them, hey.
They value that. I feel like people value honesty.
I don't think enough agents explain that. I mean, we know that new expressways going in through Silverleaf, and I guarantee with many of the new construction homes, they never even mentioned it to their sellers, their buyers. And they're buying it, and all of a sudden now they realize there's going to be an expressway practically in their backyard. So, I guarantee there's a number of people out there that falls in the category of, and they're going to buy a home, but your reputation's on the line. In the reality, like you said, I think you said something very early in our conversation. You are always, how did you say? You are always interviewing or for the next one. Yeah. And that is your next one. And that next one may not be maybe that particular couple. Right. It may be them referring you somebody. And if you didn't tell them about the expressway going in the backyard or that, hey, you ought to think about it because construction's going to go on here for a while, you're going to lose credibility when they run into those situations that just out of spite, they're not going to refer you. Yeah. Even how super you were.
Yeah, I haven't,
You haven't been in it yet. You're working on it, though. You're working on it very well. I like the way you're doing this. All right. What are buyers overlooking in high-end home searches right now?
Overlooking. I can tell you what they're looking for.
All right.
Okay, so their updates are just, people want updates. People want things to feel nice if they're paying a certain amount of money for a property. People are looking for, buyers are looking for realistic sellers, I'd say. It isn't a few years ago where you could attach a crazy high number to something and it'd fly off the shelf. And I know people keep saying that, but it's true. I feel like they have a little bit more whereabouts of, oh, this is going to cost this for me to do. We need to factor that in. But on the lines of mitigating expectations, and I have to do this a lot as a listing agent, actually. And mind you, I'm present for all my showings as a listing agent. I don't crowd, but a lot of my sellers like me to be there to sell their property, especially if it is, within my niche and I need to communicate value to an agent or a buyer who may not understand that. But on the lines of mitigating expectations, what a buyer's preference is towards a specific property doesn't always devalue it by that dollar amount because they want to come in and paint, change the kitchen, do XYZ. Yes, factor it into your offer, but you have to look at what the market's saying. If XYZ is selling for a certain price per square 2 months ago and it's near exact property, that attributes that, you can attribute that to the subject. You can't devalue a property, especially when there's not many of them out there, just based on what your plans are for it.
I think you're talking more of the superficial cosmetics, like painting. Is everyone wants a different color. Everyone has whatever their thing is. Now, if you go in there and the carpet's stained and, it's a 5,000 square foot house and the entire flooring needs to be ripped out, that's a different story.
But I would have had my sellers clean that prior.
Right.
Or rip it out and be honest with them so that then we don't run into that. But when you ask what are buyers overlooking, I don't think they're overlooking much.
Or are they overlooking opportunity?
At the moment?
Well, because maybe, I do know there's some houses, and just things that just came to my mind. There's some houses along the St. Johns River. Okay, these are riverfront properties, so unique. There's only so many of them.
They definitely have their quirks.
Does it have a good dock or not or whatever? But the house was built, might have been back in the 70s and 80s, and those people bought that. That was their forever home. Now they've passed on or whatever, and the house is being sold. So, obviously there's that one unique property. The house structure is nice, but you know what? It's got old, wallpaper. Hopefully it's got nice hardwood floors. Maybe you don't do anything there.
Resurface them, refinish.
But, the bathrooms maybe be updated. Are there some buyers out there that are looking for an opportunity there where they're saying, oh, man, that's a unique property. I can pay for that because it's going to be a treasure for me to love for a long time, because you're not buying that house on the waterfront typically for a 2-year buy. You're planning to be there for a while.
Yeah, I do think with those respective specific style properties, buyers will have to overlook something if that's the location and the lifestyle that they want. I think it goes back to lifestyle. How badly do you want to be on the water?
Right.
Or how badly do you want to have your farm? There's always going to be tweaks that you have to make to a property. No one property is ever going to be perfect unless you're finding the land in the exact location you want to be in and building from the ground up.
Yep. I always say there's only one address. You might have the same model home, but there's only one address anywhere in the world, and that's that one right there. And if you like it, are you going to pay $10,000 more or whatever it is? Yeah. All right. What is the real ROI on pre-listing renovations going into 2026?
Tricky question. Depends. I think your highest ROI are going to be your bigger improvements. Like people want... I've had buyers comment a lot, believe it or not, on like bathrooms, closets, things feeling maybe more modern and accessible in those spaces. I feel like the bigger stuff where you're spending the most of your time, like a kitchen, if you were going to redo that, awesome. But I probably would have a seller do more neutral adjustments, because you're not going to get out every penny that you're putting into that property before you list, truthfully, especially not in a little bit more of a buyer's market at the moment. So make it more accessible, more of a blank slate, maybe focus on going a little nicer with your finishes where, a buyer's going to really be living. And, if it's a kitchen that needs updating, a buyer's probably going to be coming in and updating it themselves anyways. But you do still need to make updates. You still need to paint, adjust. Fixtures really help, but you're not going to get out every dollar that you put in. And also, how long you've been in the property is going to impact your ROI. If you did a full, floor to ceiling, down to the studs, even renovation in the past 2 years of being there, great, but you've still only been there 2 years. It's a little tricky to attribute X $100,000 more when someone's so-and-so is going to see that you just bought it for a certain number. So I'd say depends on how long you plan on staying in the property. Yeah. But make it livable for you, of course.
Well, the battle, I think, in clarify this for me that I see from, being on the lending side and at least, living with a real estate agent, the battle out there is we have inventory. Obviously, certain addresses, the perfect home can sell in the first weekend.
Oh, for sure.
And
homes are
with
still
multiple
going.
offers.
Yeah.
There's other homes that are sitting. And the battle is, okay, do I do a renovation, maybe, say spend $10,000 on doing whatever to just move up the time scale of it? This house may sit for 90, 120 days, but you know what? If I redo the master bedroom, take out that old garden tub, make it into a big walk-in shower, or whatever it is, whatever might an agent like yourself might recommend them to do, just to make it that pop.
Yeah.
And it might be the thing that moves it up from
factor,
taking 90, 120 days to only taking 30 days. Because I think people also neglect, like, okay, I want to move now. I've got this. I got my job. They're going to put me up for so many days. But if my house sits here for 60, 90, 120 days before it sells, you're still paying the taxes
on that. Money.
And time is money. You're still paying the taxes, the fees, and so forth during that time. So if you sold it 90 days sooner because you spent $10,000 on some renovations,
that's worth it.
Think about your net or your
Certainly.
loss on that renovation may not be that much.
Yeah.
If anything at all, you might actually hopefully get a couple offers where they
Right.
battle a little bit and you make that money back.
Yeah, and I think that also comes down to what is a seller's desired level of upfront sweat equity, and time, like you mentioned. Are they willing to, it also depends on if this is a primary residence or not, right? Are they willing on being in the home, living in a little bit of a construction zone, fixing XYZ just to get it ready to sell? Or would they rather price it with that in mind and hope it still moves, And if it doesn't, then reevaluate after a reasonable amount of time. Kind of depends on what their personal timeline is like or where they're going, I guess.
Yeah. So for the agents out there, it's very important to drill down on what are the goals, what are the start calculating their expenses by, so you can, sell or at least base it with facts that, there's always that unknown. Yeah, you could do that renovation, it still doesn't sell. You just don't know. You just don't know.
So then it goes back to how are we positioned, yes, against what's sold, but also importantly in what's more of a buyer's market, how are you positioned against active inventory? And how long is that active inventory sitting? That's important to look at almost equally as what's sold.
When you're on a listing appointment right now or preparing for one, how far back are you looking at, as far as comping out that house? Because with being such a buyer's market, people making concessions, people dropping price and so forth. Or how far back are you really going to say, hey, this is what's selling right now?
So most of the properties I've sold this year have truly been within my niche or, upper end luxury. So with those, you naturally have to go back a little bit further, maybe 6-ish months. Some I've had to look back even slightly more, but those are very
unique properties.
Very unique, rare situations. But for your, normal property in a community where a lot is selling, 3 months. Yeah. 3 to 6.
Yeah. I mean, 6 seasons is like sometimes a little too long.
Sometimes a little too long because 6 months ago was summertime. It's a different market.
Right.
People wanting to be here before school starts and whatnot. So, yeah.
All right. So last year we had was it August of 24? Yeah. August 24, we had the NAR, guidelines come down basically.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to call them rules or laws because they're not. They're guidelines as far as real estate commissions. What makes a Northeast Florida agent worth their commission right now?
Truthfully, what they're doing for either the seller or the buyer and how much of themselves they're really putting into that transaction. Are they going to bat for you? Are they representing your best interests? Are they, like I mentioned before, anticipating what you need before you even know you need it, When I go under contract, and again, I feel like this is pretty bare minimum, but people still appreciate it, or people even say or comment on, wow, we didn't have this last time, and you'd think there'd be more of it out there. Everyone gets a cumulative email, dates, timelines, recommendations, just everything that they could need, one-stop shop that I have ready to go out right away. And then throughout the process, just extremely being on top of it as much as I can, knowing when dates and deadlines are coming, keeping my buyers and sellers informed. Hey, if I'm on the sell side, hey, appraisal scheduled for X date, and then following up, when do we expect to have that in? When we do, I'm always taking the initiative in the first step. Doesn't matter which side I'm on. I'm always taking the first step to, get us to the end goal, which is either selling or assisting the buyer and getting that property. So no matter what side I'm on, I'm assuming the next step.
You're being proactive, and that's why you've had success. That's why you're being successful. I was just thinking about that question because we had talked about it earlier, and what kind of good response we'd have. Right now with insurance, it could be HOA guidelines. Obviously, you're searching out properties for some equestrian buyers. So you got, all the zoning, all the different things that you got to look up.
Zoning, conservation, how many animals can you have there?
All
of the above. Yeah.
So you need an expert, and obviously in your niche you do. I totally agree. What I know about that business, and it's a unique kind of like a luxury $5 million buyer. They're very unique. Right. Very few people that do it. You're in that niche, and they need an expert to find the property that's going to be able to do it. Just like an investor might, hey, I'm looking for acreage that I can subdivide. Well, you need an agent who knows how to go in and dig up stuff on the property and make sure zonings and all that stuff is correct. And that's where your expertise come in. But I think also in general, in Northeast Florida, you need to be looking at the list of agents who have been on the show. They are top notch, but that are going to guide you through the insurance. One of the top producing short reels that I had was Holly Griggs with Christie's. She was talking about portability.
Yeah.
For local people moving, and especially if you're dealing older, you're out into some of these luxury properties. Sometimes they're moving from a large luxury property to maybe a luxury condo. Like, what's the portability? They're just moving locally.
There's actually a great company that does that.
Yeah.
Locally, father-son duo, they do a wonderful job.
They calculate your portability and everything.
They calculate it. They'll go to the county on your behalf, and
well, go ahead, throw the
my exemption check.
myexemptioncheck.
myexemptioncheck.com.
That's the name of it.
I want to say .com. I'd have to double
All right,
check.
well, you have to get it. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
My exemption check will go and do that. But that's very important if you got people moving locally, especially if they've been in their property for a number of years, right? Because property taxes become very sensitive. All of a sudden, St. Johns County is getting out of control, for example. But insurance and the agent's going to go in there and look at that. Hey, I know you like that property, but the roof, as you mentioned, you had a recent buyer had to negotiate the roof. Hot water heater. I had a client, an agent actually talking in front of me the other day because the hot water heater was a solar hot water heater, and it's unique and it's worth about $3,000. It's actually 19 years old, but the guy serviced it all the time, so it's in good, and it's in the garage. Can we still get insurance on that? And obviously we were talking together, and I referred him to an insurance agent, and they're like, yeah, there's a couple companies that will still do that, so we don't need that replaced before, but because it's not actually the main water heater of the house, but it's also in the garage too, right? Those are things you need to know as a real estate agent. Who do I call to find out, if we can get this done?
And honestly, if I don't know, I will find the answer.
Yeah.
It's part of my job. I'm having been in this business 2 years. There are so many things that I'm still learning and not knowing, but I'm like a sponge. Every transaction teaches me something new. And I think one thing that holds consistent across all of them is it's really just a matter of finding out what's most important to each side, and then hopefully everyone being reasonable and meeting in that happy ground.
What you've learned in the $1 million+ homes that and it's not just for the $1 million homes. I think this goes really for any property, but to have the Rolodex of you probably don't even know what a Rolodex is. But
I do. You look through it. It's like a little.
It's an old school phrase now. It's just a phrase.
Is it like kind of like
we'll put it
bound sticky notes and like a. I'm really aging myself here.
You used to take someone's business card and actually like staple it into like the H, right? Or you put them in there and you could go through the Rolodex. But on your speed dial on your phone, people who, whether you're contractors, you're guys who can come in and price out a kitchen, or, hey, what's it going to cost to, replace the pool equipment? You need to have those people on your speed dial.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if you're selling some of these luxury homes, so you can have the answer for these people right at that moment. Oh, it's only going to cost $2,000 to replace that equipment? Oh, okay, great. You need someone that are going to answer those questions, because people will move on.
Right.
If you get them in love with a particular property and they just go, oh, what is it going to cost? Especially when that inspection report goes through. Are you going through that and then calculating for them? Hey, this is really only a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, like, hey, this looks like a lot, but it really will take so-and-so
15 minutes.
Maybe even a handyman, super quick, easy to knock out.
Yeah, exactly. You need to have those people on the road. That makes the difference.
Multiple people, for every, because I do feel like buyers at that higher caliber, any caliber, truthfully, they want some options. I do get people who say, I want the best, tell me who you would use, and in that case, I'll give maybe the person I've worked with the most or heard the most about if I haven't encountered
that you have the most trust in.
That I have the most trust in. Maybe if I haven't encountered that particular situation before, but a lot of times they like to shop around, kind of make that decision on their own, and they just look to you for guidance and suggestions, so I always try to provide multiple. And that comes from doing my own research, too.
Doing your own research, and even being surrounded by successful people as you are in that Berkshire Hathaway minder and all. Because you know what? I had someone...
I asked.
My coworker, she's got 20 years in the business. She just had someone replace their flooring, and they were bragging about it and got more for their home. Let me see who she used. Type of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
I always ask for suggestions if I don't have a personal contact. We have a great network and people reply. So
all right, last one of the trending questions, which kind of blends in a little bit to that question we kind of discussion we just had. What are red flags buyers and sellers should watch for in agent selection right now?
I would say this is arguably most people's largest investment, largest decision. It can set you up years to come. Trust that with the right person. We live in such a fleeting world where people make quick judgments based on what they see on social media. So I would encourage everyone to do a little more digging, a little more research. What is your agent's track record, and what are their clients saying about them? What have they sold if you're in a certain market? How did they sell it? Getting specific success stories. I bring a resume pretty much with me everywhere I go, and it's just a good conversation starter, and I think it legitimizes you and gives you a certain degree of credibility.
I heard being on podcasts gives you legitimacy too.
Well, here I am. Talking and listening to your agent and kind of test them. Are they a true expert and you don't have to know everything about everything, but I feel like it goes back to those buyers and sellers are working with you. How responsive are you, but they're working with you, your personality, how you're interacting with them. So just vet
and
more.
I think this goes beyond just, obviously we've been talking a lot about your niche and your that. Obviously, I think
beyond that, because I work with
new construction buyers.
Yeah.
I think that this is the biggest. You talk about red flags. You're going in a new construction. You need to have an experienced real estate agent in that area that knows and knows the different builders, because some of these places are not very good, and some of the experiences and in certain some subdivisions, you might be with the same builder but two different subdivisions with two different supers in each, and one knows how to do the final walkthrough and checkout and covers all your problems, or proactive, and is there. And another subdivision, you got Joe Schmo who's just whatever. Yeah.
And I do think we honed in on my niche a lot, which is wonderful. I mean, truthfully, it is my passion. Coming from writing, competing, that sort of thing. But those qualities that I get from that world, I attribute to every transaction. So, the same detail-oriented, the same white glove, the same anticipating what someone needs before they need it. I give that to every buyer and seller I have the privilege of working with, and all price points, truthfully. It still applies because it's who I am as an agent.
Yes.
And yes, my niche and my history, writing and training, has attributed to that and helps me serve those sellers and buyers even better, but it also helps me serve sellers and buyers who maybe are not in that niche even better as well.
No, I totally agree with you, Emma. One, I'm honored to have really sat down with you today and get to know you, and I'm excited about what you're going to be doing a long time after I'm gone.
I don't see myself going anywhere. Kind of plan A.
But anyone listening right now, she's got a niche because that's what she grew up doing. You love that. You love this. You love the horses. You love the equestrian. So you have found this unique thing, and the great thing is a lot of times they're higher price points, right? So that's exciting as a real estate agent. But if you're a real estate agent out there, you have to find what is your niche. Your niche right now, like I said, might be a soccer mom. You might be at the Little League field.
Workout sphere, it applies. It applies. And I do think, like for me, my age bracket, my immediate sphere, when I started, it was not people I knew. I had to go and forge those relationships and take that first step, kind of how we spoke about at the beginning. And for me, that started with quite literally studying. I would sit in the office and study the property appraiser for hours, and that information is still with me. And just knowing the areas, knowing where people are and what they're looking for, and just starting open-ended conversations, and then always staying in touch. You have to follow up. You have to be persistent. One time I was called relentless, but very nicely, so I'll take that as a compliment.
Hey.
But it ended up, I sat down and I was able to attribute $8 million of my production this year to what I was doing in September of 2024.
Yes.
So it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And it's mind-boggling for me to sit down and look at that, because when I was taking those actions, I wasn't necessarily thinking, oh, this is going to result in X amount in the future. It was really just, there's these few people, I know I can help them, get to what they want to be in or sell their property. And so I'm going to consistently make myself available, make that happen. And the results come, period. If you're working, and be honest with yourself, if you're working, the results will follow.
Yeah.
I have to write that down so I remember it anytime I have lulls, because granted, I'm still new. I do have months where there are lulls, but you're still working. And if I look back and say, oh my gosh, over a year ago, I can attribute to things that are happening now in December, that's pretty incredible. Yeah. And that's what I love about the business.
No, you have I'm going to call it a trait, whatever, skill that many of the great agents have. You have had a lot of single moms on here, and they've totally owned the single mom thing. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with owning what you're good at.
Yeah, you're there every day. You've got your kids. You're doing this. You're at the ball field or whatever. Work it. You're there. Yeah. Don't be staring off the space. Have a conversation with somebody. Let them know whether they're. Last September's conversation could be all of a sudden, oh, you know what? We just got a job transfer. I need you to list my house.
Yeah, and it truthfully comes from also not being transactional based, but relationship based, and just wanting to help. I think that's the core of the business. And when you really reflect that, and when you're coming from that angle and approach, people pick up on it. They know that you're really there for them. Yeah, and that's what will never go out of style.
I've always believed in you make people.
How you make people feel.
How you make people feel.
Yes.
But John Maxwell says, and I think it's just 25 ways to influence people, is introducing people to other people. And when you are talking to somebody, man, you're really an important person. I'm having a conversation with you. You're really important people. Who do you know? And a lot of times they feel just, you want to know who I know? Now they feel important. Yeah. The thing is, they may refer you, but they may never actually be your customer because they just moved in their house and they live there for the next 20 years. Right. They may never call you, but they know people. They're talking to people. Everyone's talking about real estate. Things are moving. This is a very transient area. People are moving in and out, whether it's with the Navy or corporations that are here in town and so forth. If the rates do drop, we'll see more internal moves like we were seeing in 2020. People were moving from Nocatee or out of Nocatee or whatever, that kind of thing going on. But I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
It was great to get to know you. Yes, it was.
I appreciate it.
And I want to track what you're doing because I'm really...
Hopefully.
I want to see you explode in this equestrian thing. I want to see this explode
I hope I get to just keep doing what I'm doing because I love it. So, yeah, and helping people.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This may be it for today's episode of Real Estate Excellence, but we both know your pursuit of excellence doesn't stop here. To connect with the best of the best and really take your skills to the next level, join our community by visiting TracyHayesPodcast.com, where you'll meet more like-minded individuals looking to expand their inner circle and their personal experience. That's available at TracyHayesPodcast.com.